You want to start
All right,
with the
yep.
pledge?
Yep.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So like we do every year, I will run through the school budget very quickly. I will go over the front page to talk about where the different revenues come from and then go through the line item with any of the significant swings in there. Everybody got their budget book? Yes. All right. So if you look at the Orrington School Budget Revenues Draft 1, the very top section shows that the total for the budget is $7,895,835. The numbers above that are broken down below that, and I'll go through those. The gross budget comparison this year from last year is an increase of $273,024, which is a 3.58% increase. The local appropriation, or the part that the town has to share or has to raise, has gone down $31,564, which is the $3,860,771. That number is 247,000 less than the year 17-18, and has been a decrease or flat for the last 5 years. One of the reasons for that, if you look at the state subsidy comparison, we received an additional $534,204 this year, which for next year would be $3,985,064. Switching to owning our own buses is a reason for that, but also at the bottom line, the state valuation, you see the increase of 1.54%. The average state valuation was 5% this year, so where we were behind that, we received additional subsidy. The two biggest factors in subsidies are always student count and your state valuation, because that is how the state equates your ability to pay for a child's education. That is the cover sheet of the total budget, but I will go through the line items that got you there. Are there any questions on that before I turn that page?
The only question I had, the anticipated balance, June 30th, 2022.
Yeah. The 50.
Is that going to be refined in the way it comes?
You mean the number changed?
Yeah.
Not at this point.
Okay. But it could.
Oh, always. But I mean, no, if this the projection, no. If that's your question.
You put a fairly small placeholder.
Right.
Okay.
But currently that's what we would expect, yes. Okay. All right, turning the page. You look at line 6, the percentage shift there for the nurse increased $5,050. That has to do with two things: negotiated contract, but then also our cost sharing with Dedham shifted a percentage point this year. If you look Board of Education, you're going to see line 16, a $2,000 increase for the audit, which brings it up to $12,000. That's because with the federal money that we received this year, you have to do a single line item audit, which is more expensive. If you turn the page, you will see line 78, an increase of $90,000. That is for the bus reserve. That is so that with the additional subsidy we have, if we can do that for the next 4 or 5 years, when this current fleet ages out, we will be able to simply purchase them and not have to adjust anything locally at all. If you recall, for those of you who were there last year, we were contracted out last year. We shifted to owning our own buses for this year as part of a collaborative with Hancock, Lemoyne, and Bucksport, because the increase for the subcontract was so significant. It was 34% over 5 years. This has allowed us to reduce that cost and plan for the future so that there's no impact locally. If you go to Line 94, salaries pre-K2 teachers, you'll see the 9581 increase. That is the negotiated agreement. Line 111, 3 teachers, you will see 17,784, same thing for a contract. You will see line 117, that's a new one, unemployment for $20,000. We were required to break that out. If you go to line 150, salaries ed tech, you'll see the 13,760 there. That is the addition of one more position there based on student needs. If you go to line 173 and 174, that would be the addition of the special education director or pupil services director. If you go to 183, the 7260, that is a required software update for Tyler Technologies. Line 197, the $20,000, the salary ed tech, that is another additional position for student needs. Benefit ed techs on line 202, the increase of 12,600, that is to cover the benefits of the ed techs. And then if you go to line 239, stipend student activities, that's an increase of $10,000. That is part of the contract for the positions that we have in place, which will bring you to line 268, the total increase of the 273,024.
239, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
Line 268, the very last line.
He's asking about line 239.
Oh, the 239, sorry, yes, I'm sorry. You want me to back up to 239? Yep. That was the stipend agreements for the different positions that do athletics, co-curricular, those kinds of activities. So like we have a chess club, Dungeons and Dragons club, basketball, those kinds of positions, that's where that comes from.
No more students.
No, it's the activities, but the stipends for the activities, but not students. Okay. So I'm sorry, that brings us to 268, which is the total budget for the 7,895,835 with the increase of 273,024. Questions on any of those items?
Line item 192,
Yep,
special ed, legal services.
yep.
What's that?
So when we have questions about IEPs, which is the document that's written for special ed students, we've had a couple times where we've had to access legal counsel on the way to write it, or when we have to go to mediation or hearing for somebody who doesn't agree with those decisions. So that's simply money that gets paid to the our attorney.
Where did we cover it previously?
We haven't really had to access it previously. We haven't had to use a special ed attorney for a number of years. We use an attorney on the regular ed side, which is under the school board, but not for the special ed piece. Others? Okay. Mr. Backman, all yours.
Thank you.
Go ahead and move it.
Yeah, we can get some.
Sit right there.
I have to sit beside Chris, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll risk
Right,
it.
can't change it.
I'm pretty harmless these days.
Water over there, if you guys want.
I just help myself.
Yeah, put another one back, Ellen.
Watch the guy behind you. Going out. Chuck him right out.
He's not even paying attention.
No, he's.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna.
Yeah, well,
He probably asked me the same thing he asked me. I'm guessing that.
I would say less than 10 people here that
Could be a tough bunch up there.
that aren't getting
I
paid.
didn't bring my paperwork.
I don't think you need it. I just did it. Yeah. These on?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Everybody hear me all right? This is my second year, and this is the second year I regret not putting nice line item numbers like Mr. Stoughton does. So excuse me as I lead along blindly here. The town of Orrington, the first thing I'd like to start with is the proposed revenue budget. And in Department 200, the treasurer's revenue, we're anticipating an additional 145,000 in revenue sharing. In ambulance billing service, it looks like we've decreased that budget by 92,500, but we've actually moved it to their own department, 510, which we will get to. Department 220, the assessors, we've increased or have added a $25,000 line item for revenue. We have entered into an agreement with BZ and Eddington to cost share a new assessing agent that she's going to be working in all three towns, and they're all three towns are sharing in the cost of her helping out. On the next page, code enforcement. This was always buried in Department 100. And because we have the ability to separate these, I am now starting to separate departmental revenues. So it looks like there's an increase, but it was always in Department 100. Town clerk revenue, a small decrease. Miscellaneous revenue, again, a big increase in the homestead exemption. The state has changed the reimbursement rate from 70% to 73%. So that is why that is increasing. And then Department 510 is where the 92,500, we're estimating 100,000 in billable EMS revenues this year. Total increase of 143,636 of additional revenues this year. Questions? Turning to the next page is a summary of all the expenditure departments. We can go into depth on the next following pages. Selectmen 105, very little increase. Manager's office 110. Regular employees across the board of the town have a 3.5% salary increase is what was budgeted in this year. The IT system reduction out of the manager's office of 14,150. That is moved to Department 140. Insurance and benefits. slight increase in our workers' comp and the social security match due to increased salaries and wages. Town hall building maintenance went down. We completed the project upstairs this year, and so we're not asking for as much this year. Questions on that page? Technology department, here's our increase. The IT system, we decreased it 14,000 in the manager's budget, but only increased it 10,600 in this department. Town officer wages, we're proposing a slight increase for the select board, school board, and planning board. Assessing department, we are adding one full-time person, but we are separating this year the code enforcement officer to the next department, 230. And so the combined increase in those two departments is roughly $41,000. One additional person added. But we've increased our revenue to offset that by $25,000. Economic development, we've decreased our consultant services by $15,000 because our existing economic development is now our code enforcement officer. So he's playing double duty in the office. Next page, 310, Public Works. Again, 3.5% increase in the employees' wages. Minor adjustments in the rest of the line items. Department 330 garage, slight decreases in the maintenance because we replaced two of the doors, overhead doors this year. So the maintenance on those will not be. General assistance, I've increased $1,000 in that line item. Anticipated more requests for general assistance. Solid waste, we'll be going into year 2 of our contract, and this is a contractual increase. Conservation has gone down because Public Works will be taking over some of the lawn care and maintenance of the Richardson track. Recreation, basically flat except for salary increase. They are starting to come out of the COVID doldrums and starting to get built back up. And so their budget has remained relatively flat. Local area contributions, same as last year for most part. Questions? Department 510, Fire and Rescue. A lot of wholesale changes going on in Fire and Rescue. We're trying to go 24/7, fully staffed, the facility. And it was kind of exciting to look at the numbers of the way the fire department would be going 24/7 by hiring one additional person, but shifting a lot of the schedules around. So it's about half of what I anticipated as an increase to go 24/7 in the fire department. Sheriff's Department is the
Two pages back, very budget expenditure, item 5, fire rescue. It's gone up $157,000. 35% increase. Is that what this is about? No staffing?
Absolutely. It broke it down. This is their whole operational department. Animal control, not much change. library staffing, payroll increases. Department 670, this is the big ticket items we put away for fire, revaluation, public works equipment, town hall maintenance. These are our long-term contingency reserves. Pretty much flat. And this Department 675 is a new one that I've added in this year. This is a fuel contingency. We were going through the budget and fuel was going out of control and didn't know what to do. And so we did a best guess on our budgets and we added this line item, hopefully never to use, but to keep the departments somewhat flat and level year after year after year and not have a big jump in their fuel line. Hopefully we don't use it, but who knows what the price of diesel is going to be in 2 weeks, never mind 6 months from now. County tax and education are as assessed. Questions? The next page is a summary of how they will appear on the town warrant article, that each of the departments, as they're grouped, as outlined in the charter, and how we vote per article is where these totals come from and get used. Questions? Hearing none. I move to adjourn.
Yeah.
4-1. Who voted against it?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
7 minutes?
Yeah.
5 minute break. 5 minute break, and then we'll come back with the hearing.
They either like what we're doing or they're stunned. One of the two.
I don't know. I'd say in this economy, 5% ain't bad. No, absolutely.
Well, if they paid attention, they would learn that the mill rate's going
Now, I still don't